Thank you so much. I thank you everybody for coming in order to attend this. Our theme is living dogma and doctrine. Let me begin by telling you that two elements constitute the basis of the rationality that sustains the Western thinking. It's science and it's religion. Science in the West is based on three main beliefs, three main presuppositions. The first is that reality is ultimately material. The second is that the corporeal senses, the five corporeal senses do tell us truth. And the last is that the universe is uniform, which means there are regularity in the universe that can be generalized into laws. Those are the three main anchor, three main bases of Western science. So they are called presupposition. It should be stressed here that these propositions cannot be demonstrated. So they are accepted as such a priori without demonstration. Speaking about religion in the West, the Webster Colloquial Dictionary define it as being a set of beliefs entertained by the believers with faith, a set of beliefs. So science and religion in the West are based on beliefs, and such entrenched beliefs are what are called dogmas. At the core of Western paradigm are mere belief. However, if we happen to demonstrate that these beliefs are wrong, the Western paradigm will not collapse due to its praxis. Western paradigm thrives due to the solution it brings to humanity. However, this praxis should not be the basis for shunning solution brought by other civilizations like the African. This is all the more the case as for the African, the basis of his solution can be proved to be a posteriori truth, demonstrable truth. Epistemologists have had difficulty to make the descriptive study of African traditional knowledge. This is due to the fact that, aside from Egypt and Ethiopia, we lack text, document stating the African traditional knowledge. African traditional knowledge, African traditional science is holistic. It seizes the universe in the unity of the invisible and the visible. It sees reality as belonging to the realm of the invisible. Such a perception is contrary to the Western paradigm, where the visible is seen as the real, and the invisible is rejected as belonging to the realm of superstition. It then follows that the study of the epistemology of African traditional knowledge, the, the descriptive study of African traditional knowledge cannot be made by following the methodology set for the Western paradigm, because different kind of science are in play, are at play. If the study of Western science, if in the study of Western science, we need to examine the content of its discourse. In the study of African traditional knowledge, what is required is that we think about the initiatory schools, their curriculum, and their organization. However, the descriptive study of African traditional knowledge is difficult to be made in other African cultures, except in Bukongo, because the Congo culture has kept intact the organization of the mystery which has been known used in ancient Egypt. In initiation, in Bukongo, like in Kemet, initiation comprised three branches. The sacerdotal branches, which is the Academy of the Formation of the Prophets, the School of Divine Science. That was the highest school, which was called in ancient Egypt the Great Mystery. The School of Civil Mystery, which was the traditional university. It included the schools of law, trade, etc., medicine, etc. And the third one was the martial school, the school where the military men were formed. So we have those three kind of initiation. We don't speak here of the rite of passage. We are speaking of the top initiatory system, which is like how the seminary, the university, the military schools of today, not the lower initiation, for example, initiation for winning a baby, initiation for marriage, initiation for such. No, we are speaking of the highest kind of initiation. The introduction into these higher initiation was always marked by the symbolism of death. Death and resurrection marked the entrance into the initiation. During the initiation, the disciples were supposed to abide in Mbeba, water, which symbolized the abode of the ancestors. Because the initiate had to die in order to find himself among the holy ancestors, and due to the hierarchy of the divinity, we can conclude that ultimately in this system, all reality is in God, the supreme being. This is the first thing. Secondly, because whatever be his specialty, being it martial, being it civil, the initiate had to learn divine mystery. They all were learning, first of all, divine mystery. And this implies that all knowledge is included in the knowledge of God. This is the second proposition. Third, the fact that the initiate had to die in order to acquire knowledge shows that the visible is only a feeble perception of the invisible. So we have there the three main propositions constituting the basis of African traditional knowledge. These propositions are not mere belief, as in the case of the Western paradigm. They are demonstrable thanks to the Kemetic cosmological argument. The Kemetic cosmological argument, as I said it in our first conversation, is a deductive statements of the main doctrine, the main teaching of solar religion, a religion that characterized the civilization of ancient Egypt and Sumer, and whose continuity today is the Bukongo, the Congo religion. I can summarily state the Kemetic cosmological argument this way. I'm an individual being. You are an individual being. So we abide in a universe, temporal universe, which has an individual being because it is identified with the individuality that the body is. So this universe, this temporal universe being an individual entity, it is the creation of an individual creator. Here, let me introduce an hypothesis which is not indispensable. I just use it for the sake of concision. Let's suppose that every creation exists in its creator. Now, because the creator of this temporary universe is an individual entity, and considering the infinite possibility of offered in infinity, we can conclude that there are other causes like the creator, other creators who are at least potentially creative. They may have not yet created the universe, but they exist. If we take the sum total of these potential and manifest creators, we have a being who is the greatest possible being. Why? Because every creation we can imagine must exist in its creator, and the creator is in this greatest, in this letter being. So this being is the greatest possible being. So it is God, the Most High. We deduce that the Most High must be indivisible and immutable. If he were not, there might exist a principle of his mutability and divisibility, and that principle must be bigger than him, which is impossible because he's the greatest possible being. So God, the Most High, is indivisible and is immutable. Next, God, the Most High, must be transcendent. Transcendent means not only that he's above everything, but also he's not cognizant of evil. Because if he were cognizant of evil, due to his indivisibility, evil and good will participate in his essence, and he will be infinitely good and infinitely bad, which is a contradiction, which violates the law of non-contradiction. So God is transcendent, God is infinite, God is immutable, God is indivisible. Now, we know that each creator manifests an individuality included in God, the Most High. However, God is indivisible. So each creator manifests the fullness of the Most High, but in a single manner, in an individual way. So that fullness we call the Logos, which means we have now three entities. We have God, we have the Creator, and the Logos. God is generally called Father, Mother. In Bukongo, we call him Zambia Pungu Tulendo. The Creator is called Mumba Loa, and the Logos at the celestial level is called Mhinanza. Now, with the indivisibility of God, those three entities are one in substance, one in activity, one in existence. When the Father acts, he acts through his children, one of the creator, and thanks to the Logos. And when a child of God, a creator acts, he acts for the Father and thanks to the Logos, which is in him. This is solar Trinity. The question now is, where is situated a temporal universe in comparison with the Most High? It cannot be outside of the Most High, because if it were, then we will have an entity greater than the Most High, which includes the Most High and the creation, which is impossible. It cannot be within the Most High. If it were, then at the moment of creation, something in God, the Most High, will go from potentiality to manifest state, and God will experience a change, will have experienced a change. However, God is immutable, so that's also impossible. So the temporal universe is neither in the Most High nor outside of the Most High, but it is in the Creator. Remember how I posted it. So we come to the conclusion that the temporal universe is only a perception of the spiritual universe, the universe of the Most High. This is the conclusion to which the philosophy of Plato reached. The visible universe is only an appearance of the invisible. Now, what are the consequences of all of this on the epistemological level? We have seen that God is the sum total of all reality. He is all in all. In Kikongo, we say, Wena Wakalunga. God is sometimes defined as Kalunga, the one who everything is the manifestation. And since the visible universe is only an appearance of the invisible of reality, when we come to the conclusion that ultimately all reality is in God. Remember, that was the first proposition, the first basis of African traditional knowledge. Since all that really exists is the manifestation of the celestial reality, which reality is included in God, the Most High, we came to the conclusion that all true knowledge is included in the knowledge of God. Remember, that was the second proposition. The ontological principle drawn from the Kemetic cosmological argument dictates also that the visible is a feeble manifestation of the invisible. So we have there the three main propositions of African traditional knowledge. So you see, the basis of African traditional knowledge are demonstrable thanks to the cosmological argument, while the basis of the Western paradigm are not demonstrable. Moreover, Western religion are mere beliefs as sustained by the lexicographers, while we have seen that the Kemetic cosmological argument gives us the summary of the religion of ancient Egypt and proves that that religion is an exact science. What is the importance, the implication of this analysis in view of the seeming multiplicity of the trend of African traditional religion? Firstly, prior to the intrusion of Western paradigm, ancient Egypt, Sumer, Nubia shared the same religion, solar religion. And this religion is seen in the convergence with the Kemetic cosmological arguments. And this religion has been kept intact in Wukongo. And the successive waves of epistemic intrusion of the West and the Arabs replaced beliefs to the scientific element elements of African traditional religion. And these destroyed, in many cases, the scientificity of African traditional religion. Thus, African traditional religion is to be defined according to its original nature as an exact science, rather than according to the seeming multiplicity. This is the first step we can take. Secondly, we need to bring a solar renaissance. According to to ancient prophets, the prophets of ancient Egypt and of Sumer, we are at the wake of a return of the preponderance of solar paradigm over the Western one. And this has been prophesied also by the Congo prophet Simon Kimbangu. He said it in this way. He said, the white will become black and the black will become white. He didn't mean a racial transformation, but an epistemological shift that will bring the preponderance of the African paradigm over the lunar one. This shift has been perceived by Sheikh Anta Diop in one of his lectures. He saw it has a cohabitation of religion and science, but such a cohabitation to be brought by African, according to him, implies African traditional knowledge. Because in the Western paradigm, science and religion are at loggerheads. Thirdly, the difficulty encountered by diaspora in Africa to identify with an African spiritual culture. This difficulty can be solved, and they can identify themselves with solar religion, which is the scientific form of the African traditional spiritual culture. Fourthly, there are other advantages of the recourse or return to solar paradigm. Let me give you some of them. The pedagogical advantage. Western paradigm aims at developing the spirit, developing the power of perception by training the reason. They use two kinds of principles: a well-filled brain head, a well-filled brain, or a well-done brain, a well-done head. Two theories drawn by French scholars. However, this approach is time-consuming, and ideally, it for only experts. Solar paradigm, solar education aimed at developing the spirit by freeing the soul from the shackles of the body through purification. We pay little, very little attention, or I can say no attention approach, while it is the simplest approach, less expensive. It develops intuition, revelation, the ability to vanquish epistemological obstacles. It enables you to become even servants. It is time for us to reconnect with these simple pedagogical approach, which was used in ancient Egypt, which was used in Congo culture. In order for me to become a PhD honor at the time, I started 5 years of of architecture. I had to study again theology in Christian Science, and then I had 2 years of study again in order to in the seminary in order to have my PhD degree. While one of the initiates with whom I talked, he studied only 9 months in the forest. I cannot even match his wisdom. The other point is the technological one. Solar technology is often shunned because it relies on the notion of the spirit. But let me first give you here an example of the use of this technology, especially in medicine. One of my nephews was shot by a gun. He was left with a double fracture of the femur. We went to a military hospital. The, they needed to make 2 operations at least in order to set the bones. And the complete healing would have taken more than 6 months. And the cost was so expensive that we could not afford to pay that. So we decided to rely on African traditional technology. We went to a traditional orthopedist. To put the matter short, this guy took the case, and the case was healed in 5 days. In 5 days, the bones were set, sitting on the floor. On the 5th day, my nephew could raise his leg, the leg that has suffered a double fracture of the femur. When I mentioned that case in an article, I hear many voices coming out of Africa telling me that we know that practice is here in our country. So the practice is now all over Africa. Why don't we sustain it? Because we think we lack the spiritual, the scientific basis to sustain the existence of the spirit, which is the basis of such a healing. So let me prove that here now that the existence of spirits is not a superstition. We have seen that God, the Most High, is the ultimate cause. The Kemetic cosmological argument has demonstrated that it is God who acts in the his lower manifestation. So, and also that everything is the manifestation of God. So we came to the conclusion that God is spirit, the substance, the animating principle of everything. Now that God is transcendent, being transcendent, he can animate the celestial realm only through his manifestation, the children of God. So it comes to the conclusion that each children of God is a divine spirit governing an aspect of the celestial reality. Such a divine spirit is called in Kikongo Bikinda. In other areas, they are called the Loas, Loas meaning sun. And it is correct. Even in Kikongo, we call them also Loa. But we know that the temporal universe is only a manifestation, an appearance of the celestial realm. So each Loa, each child of God is manifested in the temporal universe has a spirit, a divine spirit governing an aspect of the phenomena. So, and this spirits are called in Kikongo Bakisi. So we have three levels of spirits: God the Most High, the King of the lowest, and the Bakisi. These are not creation, superstition creation, but these are propositions demonstrable through the Kemetic cosmological argument. So the result, the fact for us to use our traditional technology should not be impeded by the seeming inability, by the false presupposition, the false supposition that the existence of spirit is not demonstrable. That is a false statement. We know from here on that it is impossible to demonstrate the existence of matter, while it is possible to demonstrate the existence of spirits. That's what we have done through the Kemetic cosmological argument. The scientific relation of Africa and the West has been marked by the seeming inability of the African to prove the validity of his scientific paradigm and the ignorance of the scientific import of his religion. Thanks to the work brought by Ndila Lowa that we direct and its Institut des Sciences Animées, this problem has been solved. It belongs to the African of today, continental and diasporic, to avail themselves of the superiority of their religion and of the traditional knowledge as a scientific paradigm to lead humanity to a new path. That path, which is solar renaissance, which has been prophesied by ancient Egyptians, by Sumerian, by Sheikh Tariq, and by the Congo prophet Simon Kimbangu, who said the white will become black and the black will become white. And he added that after that epistemological shift has happened, the black people will be able to invent many things that have not been yet done, discovered by the Western paradigm. Thank you.